Hey guys, how you doing? WK Kanji here, and I hope you're having a great day. This video is really interesting and it comes from a subscriber of the channel who linked me to something I hadn't seen before, so thank you very much for pointing me in this direction, Phantom Flame. This video would not have been possible without you. For years, people speculated about the ending of Dragon Ball GT and what exactly it meant, as it was very vague and ambiguous. It was a very good ending, but it was very vague and ambiguous. On purpose, of course. And many of us pondered what Dragon Ball GT episode 65 would have looked like had the show not been cancelled. Now, as we know, the likelihood is that they took all of the material that they had written down that they were planning to do in the future of Dragon Ball GT and crammed it as quickly as they could into the 64 episodes. But it does make you wonder, had the show not been cancelled, what other things they would have tried to incorporate to make the show last longer? Many people speculated it would jump forward to Goku Jr. and Vegeta Jr. being the main characters, and rife rumours of Dragon Ball AF then spread the message boards, because of course we didn't have social media back then, eventually culminating in fan manga artists attempting their own continuations of the series. Through this we were introduced to Toyball, now known to everybody as Toyotaro, and love him or hate him, you cannot deny the wonderful Cinderella story that comes from the fact that he was a fan manga artist rising through the ranks to being personally endorsed and chosen by Akira Toriyama to take the reins of Dragon Ball in manga format. But prior to all of this, there was actually a legitimate continuation past the Shadow Dragon arc that Toei Animation endorsed. In 1997, there was another story that would follow, featuring the returns of Trunks, Pan and Goku, and the returns of villains Frieza, Cell, Don Key, and an army of Legix race. Frieza and Cell would return with new forms that we'd never witnessed in any other form of media in this show, which are fairly unique. They're questionable, but they are unique. And to top it all off, this is actually available to watch on YouTube right now. The video is around 25 minutes long, just a little bit longer than your average episode of GT. I'll put a link to it in the description box below. Although I will say, even though the video claims to be the full show, it does seem to abruptly cut off. So I'm convinced there may be another 10 minutes or so that may have actually been lost. If anybody actually knows the location of the actual full show, please let me know. I'll be very grateful. The missing 10 minutes probably would have just covered Goku actually fighting Cell and Freeza into a retreat, but alas, we won't know until somebody finds it. This story was a stage show, held in Sendai, Japan in 1997 in a department store, which actually featured the voices of the show including Masako Nozawa and Takeshi Kusao. Stage shows are fairly common forms of anime promotion in Japan. But to what my research has led me to, Dragon Ball 1s have been fairly few and far between, surprisingly, given its mass popularity. I've actually managed to locate 2 other Dragon Ball stage shows, but sadly I personally found them to be less interesting and mainly rehashing old stories rather than doing something new. However, I will cover them in another video, so remember to subscribe for that future video. Now of course, as I mentioned earlier, because it featured Masako Nozawa and Takeshi Kusao, the video is completely in Japanese, and as of now, there are no subtitles. People have requested them, but as the uploader of the video has not enabled user-contributed subtitles, it seems hard to incorporate. So anybody willing to translate have been somewhat out of luck and turned away because it wouldn't reach the masses for their hard work. However, from what I understand of Japanese myself, which I'm not going to lie isn't very much, it doesn't really sound like they go into how or why these forms for Cell or Freeza came to be. There is a particularly chunky piece of dialogue in it, but it doesn't really seem to, from what I can tell, cover any of these bases, other than potentially just stating that they're stronger than they were before. The even bigger question, which is how Goku is around considering he left with Shenron in the previous episode, or how Cell and Freeza came to be revived. I did search online rigorously attempting to find out more information on this, but sadly it didn't come to be. Typically it seems like your standard pantomime where the story isn't going too deep and the main purpose is to pop the audience and make the kids happy. But as a general rundown of the story generally seems to be that of Don Key getting out of prison, recruiting an army of Legix race for the first act of the video, with Goku, Trunks and Pan letting them go after a brief scuffle. Trunks and Goku disappear to find food because of course, Goku is hungry, what's new, and they get captured by Don Key and the Legix. I do want to say, even though it says there's an army of Legix, there's like 2. But maybe they just had an extra suit floating around there. Maybe this was originally going to be just the return of Legic, but Anyway, I digress. They return to Pan, holding Trunks and Goku ransom, and they seem to be asking for the Dragon Ball in exchange for their safety. Why the guys are hunting Dragon Balls and why the main cast seem to have the Dragon Balls, I don't know. That might be something that's covered in the actual audio, but again, I can't translate. Pan decides that it's actually a better idea to fight them than to give over a Dragon Ball. After Pan defeats them, she frees Goku and Trunks from their incredibly tight rope, which definitely couldn't have been shook off, and Don Key seems to have some form of satellite remote with a satellite dish on it, and it rejuvenates the Legix and gets them ready to fight again. They all have a big quote-unquote climactic fight, resulting in an obviously invisible Kamehameha from Goku and Trunks, because of course this was 1997, and even now we don't have real Kamehameha powers. Blasting Donkey and his men, this is followed by a swift retreat from them, where Trunks, Pan and Goku will get together again and celebrate their quick victory. Also without subtitles, I'm afraid I can't really verify to say whether these two acts are actually related, because even though they're in the same video, the follow-up act in this video features Cell and Freeza returning in some form of Team Rocket-y kind of Pokemon role, but with new forms. It also appears to have shifted outside to a less visually appealing set. The story doesn't seem to be quite as engaging, with Goku, Pan and Trunks sharing a dialogue together. Goku appears to sense a powerful ki in a far off direction. Trunks and Pan don't seem to want to wait for the fight, but Goku does and starts warming up. Although that could be misconstrued because afterwards Trunks and Pan do run off going 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm not really sure if that means they're training in their own way. Who knows? But Pan and Trunks decide to leave it to Goku and they walk off as Goku trains. Cell and Freeza, of course, encounter Trunks and Pan during their walk, and they share a short little dialogue with Trunks, and he attempts to fight Freeza, but of course he's no match. Pan comes up with a plan to pretend to spot Goku, which enrages Cell and Freeza, who desperately start searching for Goku, only for Pan and Trunks to sneak off, pulling faces at them as they both run away. Goku later appears on stage doing some stretches, where he's reunited with Pan and Trunks, but it seems to just cut off before they fight Cell and Freeza, as Ryusei Nakau's Frieza can be heard noticing Goku just before the video cuts off. Obviously, given the production, there are no transformations. Frieza and Cell actually arrive in their new forms, and Goku never turns Super Saiyan or anything like that, neither does Trunks. And the fights are mostly contactless, but have some lovely out-of-sync combat sounds. But seriously, it's nice that they tried with the sound effects. The kids must have loved it. Many viewers and commenters describe the show as cringy, with a surprising amount of commenters wishing death upon themselves for watching. But honestly, I actually saw a fair amount of pantomime as a kid, and it was no more cringe than a normal pantomime. In fact, the features of Nozawa, Kusao, and Nakao would have been so amazing to hear live as a kid that I don't think I'd have cared about how cringy the actual thing was. It's a shame that the show wasn't more widespread, as I'm sure children would have loved to even witness a VHS or DVD release of this, which actually could exist somewhere, seeing as it did have a big production behind it at the time. If anybody has any more information about the dialogue in the special, or whereabouts of a potential official release, please let me know in the comments below. I'll be incredibly grateful to find out about it. Some people online speculated whether this was potentially an unused storyline from GT, given the fact that GT was cancelled, which forced Toei to speed through the rest of their big material that they had planned, which explains the tiny Super Android 17 arc and the hasty plough through the Shadow Dragons. There's nothing that really backs up this speculation. I don't know much about the stage show's production. However, a user on Konzenshu forums seemed to be more versed in the subject. By Voltnanok, Saturday, April 4th, 2015. Usually stage shows develop things exclusive to it for the purpose of drawing in viewers, such as forms or characters. It's actually really common, especially with Kamen Rider stage shows. These forms most likely would never have showed up in the actual GT series and would only be known in this stage show. It's like how the Kamen Rider stage shows. We got Kamen Riders Alpha, Beta and Gamma, but they're never seen in the show, mentioned or referenced at all. Mostly because stage shows occur very late in a series or once it's finished. I actually never knew Dragon Ball did stage shows. It's kinda neat. I also witnessed a bunch of people on the show's comments section requesting to see fan art of what the forms of Cell and Freeza may have looked like had they made it to the anime, and being a fan of that sort of stuff myself, I'm happy to oblige. As I said earlier in the video, I've got 2 other stage shows to cover in future videos, so remember to subscribe if you enjoyed today's video, and please leave a like if you can, as it really helps the video out in the channel. Would you have liked to see these new forms in the anime? Let me know in the comments down below, and until we meet again, bye!